like this.
Morning. How's it going? Hey. There's going to be a UN meeting this morning at 9. Well, it might have already started. Let me see. No, they haven't started. Oh, wait. Wait. No, it's a different one. Where is they switched it to 9:30.
Response fund. So we're trying with this.
Is this live? Yeah. It's live. Out the 3 in the house. Well, we got, you know, just 2 in the house. That's it. 2 people. We got 2 people here. Hey, we got 2 people. And the last 2 that haven't give up on the channel.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Tom, who's it? Who's in? No worries. I can see you now. Yeah. All right. Good day to you all. In about 27 minutes, in a short while, we'll be joined by Carl Scow, who you all know well from his time here, and who is here in New York with us as the Deputy Executive Director of the World Food Program, and he will speak to you about his recent visit to Gaza and the WFP's latest assessment on the humanitarian situation there. Tomorrow, our guest will be Ugochi Daniels, who's the Deputy Director of Operations for the International Organization for Migration. She'll be here to brief you on the occasion of the International Migrants Day, which is observed on December 18th. Turning to Gaza, the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs reports that heavy rains fell on Gaza yesterday, flooding many in the areas and worsening the struggle of displaced Palestinians. The rains, coupled with the absence of effective waste management, are significantly elevating the risk of spreading disease. The ability of the United Nations to receive incoming aid is being significantly undermined by shortage of trucks within Gaza, the continuing lack of fuel, and telecommunications blackouts, as well as increasing number of staff who are unable to reach the Rafah crossing safely due to the intensity of the ongoing hostilities. More aid and fuel are needed to enter Gaza, but equally more capacity is needed in Gaza to handle the upcoming aid. Also, yesterday, an UNRWA school that was sheltering internally displaced persons in Jabalia refugee camp was hit, with casualties reported. The same school had been hit several times previously. UNRWA is verifying recent reports of incidents at UNRWA facilities. To give you some context, since 7 October, 156 incidents impacting UNRWA premises have been reported. Quick update for you from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs tells us that there is a surge in security incidents targeting humanitarian workers in Jugu territory in Ituri province. Yesterday, armed assailants intercepted a truck belonging to a national Congolese non-governmental organization and robbed its passengers. This happened near Jugu on a route.
I don't give a shit about Jangalanga or Bagalanga or whatever the fuck that is.
686,000 displaced human beings. And in South Sudan,
don't care.
the December isn't
at all. 0% chance I care about Sudan.
As well as rain in October, November.
Unless they're shooting missiles at somebody.
As the 4-year-long crisis show no signs.
People die, man. People are hungry. It's not my job to feed them.
Said they had school-age children.
Is it your job to feed Sudanians?
Been closed since support, protect, and ensure essential services for all children in Lebanon.
Lebanon too? Lebanon? Fuck Lebanon. How about that? How about they go fuck themselves?
Couple of different topics. First one, do you have any update on the Ceasefire or the Yemen or Nautica tanker of UNDP there?
Yeah, so there's a pledging conference going on this afternoon in conference room 3 to raise funds. The pledging conference really aims at helping us repay the money that UNDP borrowed from different UN entities. As you know, we
don't care.
The first part of the operation, the emergency part, which is transferring the oil from the Safar to what is now called the Yemen tanker.
Don't give a shit. Don't give a shit about Safar, Yemen tankers, any of that. Bang my gas prices go up. I don't go anywhere anyway.
Amélie, then Ephraim, then Itsam.
Thanks, Steph. My question is on DRC.
My eggs cost
the
more.
DRC government
I'll stop eating
sent
them.
a letter to the Security Council requesting the help of MONUSCO for logistical support in the next week election, asking
Oh my God! Could they talk about Gaza yet, bitch? What are you doing in there?
The general react to the internal memo sent to him by over 50 UN staff criticizing the special advisor on the prevention of genocide, Ms. Nderitu, for not condemning what they called Israel's collective punishment of the Palestinian civilians and also their genocidal rhetoric by the Israeli officials.
It's important that UN staff be able to express themselves. The Secretary General continues to have full confidence in the work of Ms. Nderitu.
Quick follow-ups. Ms. Nderitu has always been very vocal and very active in calling out every little sign she sees around the world that their genocide may be happening. She spoke out for Darfur recently, even Nagorno-Karabakh, against the hateful rhetoric coming out of that. Nagorno-Karabakh, why has she been silent on Gaza?
Look, I don't think she's been completely silent on the impact of what has been going on in Gaza, and I think we and the Secretary General, who speaks for the whole system, has been extremely vocal.
One more. Has the Secretary General asked her not to use the word genocide and not to speak on what's happening?
He's not asked. He's not. It's not his. He has not asked her not to use. Not to use certain words. She's doing her job.
How do you know she's asked her?
You
know all their
the labeling of an
conversations?
event as genocide is within the purview of courts and not the Secretary General.
I believe the correct answer, but I don't know what he's done. I don't know their
It is
conversations.
the Secretary General who doesn't want
That would have been the correct
to come out
answer.
of this building mentioning the word genocide. So you're denying that?
Asshole.
I'm not aware of any such order.
Okay, on the use. Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's
But
okay, no.
I'm trying to clarify things.
Yeah, please.
I know he doesn't take the word genocide lightly, but I'm sure he, as all of us have heard, who have been following, we have been reading hundreds, if not thousands, of scholars and law experts around the world warning against what they see as very clear and straightforward Israeli genocidal rhetoric. We've all heard talk about second Nakba, Palestinians being described as human animals, pop singers singing to jubilant soldiers songs, calling for the complete destruction of Gaza, pushing Palestinians to the Sinai Desert, bombing in real time civilian infrastructure, all of that. Is that at all raising... is the Secretary General at all concerned, alarmed that a genocide might be happening?
Look, the Secretary General is very concerned and has expressed his concern and his horror is what is happening and the way that civilians have paid the ultimate price in what is going on. He has called out against the use of dehumanizing language that you refer to, and he will continue to do so.
Has he been proactively seeking meetings with these experts and lawyers to see what they're talking about?
He's been getting a lot of advice from a lot of people. Ibtisam.
No. Yes. I don't know if you saw the videos circulating of Israeli soldiers filming themselves inside a mosque, singing Hanukkah songs, trampling with their shoes inside. First of all, if you have a comment on that, also on the problematic of using not only the mosque, but also the symbols of the Jewish religion that has nothing to do with the occupation, and putting them in this place and using them in a negative way. Do you have a comment on these two things?
Yeah, I've seen the videos. I think the desecration of religious sites should not be tolerated and is against common decency, to say the least. And we've also seen that...
Well, you best believe Hamas would be doing the same shit. Hamas would be...
But do you have also comments on the fact that a
shitting
religion being used
on their stuff,
that has nothing to
probably.
do with what's happening?
Be smearing shit everywhere.
Religious sites need to be respected. It cannot be...
Yeah, whatever.
...perverted in one way or another.
Last week, the Israelis last week that they are building new settlements. Any comments?
If Hamas had,
the
dude,
illegality of
if
settlement
Hamas
remains
ever had the ability to completely like just desecrate what are they called where Jews go? The Jew church. If they were able to do that, they would. They can't get close enough to one though. That's what the deal is with that. They got Jew church security.
Edith, and then Stefano.
Thank you, Steph. According to a UN report, the Taliban closed 23 state-sponsored women protection centers in Afghanistan where
this lady always has a mask on.
Seek refuge.
The hell
and Taliban
is
officials
fuck her
are now
problem?
sending Afghan women to prison.
Bitch
to
is
protect them
definitely a
from
leftist.
gender-based
Who wears a
violence.
mask
Does the
every
Secretary General
day
have
like
any
that?
comment on this project?
She's addicted to them shits. She's so ugly. She's like, I feel better
backwards in the rights
with the mask on
that women,
because people can't see
women
my
and girls in
face.
Afghanistan are not, I mean, entitled is probably the wrong word, but are have the inalienable human rights of women and girls in Afghanistan. Stefano.
Thank you, Stefano. Sorry, I arrived late, so I don't know if you spoke already about it. About the UN 6 repayment of 6.
She always asks stupid questions, too, I've noticed.
Former UN official that was fired in January, Vitaly Vashenbon, for that scandal that was revealed last year. My question is, first of all, exactly the amount, if the 63.6 million looks a lot for one person to be able to repay. And I think if he doesn't repay, UN will cut off his pension, if you want.
Cut off his penis.
So just the question is how the UN came up with this exactly amount.
There is an ongoing procedure
like a biblical law
within the UN's administrative justice system regarding the gentleman that you mentioned, and I won't comment while this is ongoing.
With his penis.
Silence, Stefano. Oh, okay, Ephraim, and then I'm going to go
one
get our
last
guest.
one. Also, on just to conclude this subject of the genocide today, waiting for a court to decide whether or not a genocide is taking place may take years. Wouldn't that be too late? And my question is, isn't the Secretary General afraid of going down in history as the UN chief under whose watch a genocide took place and he said nothing about it? Isn't he afraid of that prospect?
I don't agree with you that he hasn't said anything. And I think he has been very vocal from day one.
Genocide bad. That was his vocal.
Anytime.
Please don't
anytime
genocide.
For this SG's,
sir, they're still genociding.
Trust me.
Well, I
knew something
asked
about
them
that, I
not
would share
to,
it with
nicely,
you.
didn't I? I mean, what do you want from me?
I like nothing more than having somebody else answer questions. We will go get Mr. Scow.
Israel gonna Israel, you know, Israel gonna do what Israel gonna do, bro. They got the missiles. America gives them the missiles, so they have the power. We enable Israel to do what the fuck they want because we're so powerful. Because we are the most powerful country in the world. And Israel's like they hold on to our pocket in prison. Our pocket holder. If they fuck up, guess what? We don't let them hold on to our pocket anymore. And they gotta fend for themselves. Then they lose. Then they get raped in the butt. Oops, I said the R word on YouTube. We're fucked for the day now. Oh well. Israel got raped in the butt. Well, they would. We stopped helping them. If we were like, get your fucking hand off my pocket, Jews. That'd be the end of Israel. And we need to fucking... Whoa, Muslims are the pocket holders too, man. Because if all of a sudden
everyone.
we had
We're very pleased to have with us today Carl Scow,
if we had a terrorist event that was claimed to have happened by a Palestinian, like a big one like 9/11, do you think we'd be still sending them massive amounts of humanitarian aid? That humanitarian aid is keeping us from having an explosion here. We cut off their humanitarian aid, that's when the explosions start happening. So they kind of got us by the balls. For Israel, not as much. But yeah, I feel like that's why our country is so scared to stop giving humanitarian aid to the Middle East. Because if we do, the Middle East has got a bada bing, bada boom.
Deputy Executive Director of the World Food Program, who recently returned from a trip to Gaza. He'll be here to talk to you about that. Mr. Scow, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and great to be back with you.
You fuckers don't have any opinions on shit. You're boring as fuck because of that. You know that?
Come from
opinion after opinion I give out. Y'all just sit there.
With the Arab group. Yes.
Give me some fucking
so I was,
some retaliation on it. You know what I mean? Where's Free Israel when I need them?
In Gaza over the weekend. The overall objective, of course, was to demonstrate our continued commitment to the people of Palestine, to the people in Gaza, but also to support our teams on the ground. As you know, the majority of our staff are national staff who are living this crisis while they are also making efforts to addressing it. Many of our staff have been displaced 3-4 times. They've been living in these shelters that you've seen pictures of. But continued to deliver. So again, I think one of my most important meetings there was with our staff.
Is it crunchy? Is it creamy?
A very emotional one.
Is it a jam? Is it a jelly? Is it preserved?
They are committed to continue to deliver.
Is it a marmalade?
But obviously needs to see the conditions improve. You know, speaking to their children.
Oh, it's not that goober shit where it's the jelly and the peanut butter mixed in one jar. Oh God!
Parents leave in WFP cars.
That's a relic. Don't ever fuck with that again. It ain't the same as when you were a kid.
So again, that was in a nutshell the overall purpose. I had the chance to see our warehouses that we've set up temporarily on the border.
You can tell by his head.
At Rafah. To visit some of our distribution points, to also go to a couple of shelters, and I was also in a couple of supermarkets, which we in the past used for our voucher system. They were retailers that we used pre-crisis to assist some 350,000 vulnerable people on the strip.
Really? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Hold up. They give out vouchers to people. It's like cash. It's like food stamps. Hold up. I need to hear all of this guy's shit because he's a special guy. Now, if you don't want to do that, you know where the cocks are. Back closet, to the left, in the corner. They're in the special spot because you know I hide them because they're special. Just for you. Stick it in your mouth, though. I don't want you sticking it anywhere else. Savor that flavor.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We're very pleased to have with us today Karl Skau, the Deputy Executive Director of the World Food Program, who recently returned from a trip to Gaza. He'll be here to talk to you about that. Mr. Skau, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and great to be back with you, friends and colleagues. Let me just get my papers right here. I just come from.
Let me see your papers.
A meeting with the Arab group. Yes, so I was in Gaza over the weekend. The overall objective, of course, was to demonstrate our continued commitment to the people of Palestine, to the people in Gaza, but also to support our teams on the ground. As you know, the majority of our staff are national staff who are living this crisis while they are also making efforts to addressing it. Many of our staff have been displaced 3-4 times. They've been living in these shelters that you've seen pictures of. But have continued to deliver. So again, I think one of my most important meetings there was with our staff, a very emotional one, where they are committed to continue to deliver, but obviously needs to see the conditions improve. You know, speaking to their children who are deeply worried every day. Their parents leave in WFP cars to go out and deliver if they will ever come back again. So again, that was in a nutshell the overall purpose. I had the chance to see our warehouses that we've set up temporarily on the border at Rafah, to visit some of our distribution points, to also go to a couple of shelters, and I was also in a couple of supermarkets, which we in the past used for our voucher system. They were retailers that we used pre-crisis to assist some 350,000 vulnerable people on the strip.
Okay. So apparently they had special grocery stores that these vouchers, they like you could only use these vouchers at, is what I'm taking from that. A special voucher grocery store. And dude, 300 and something thousand of the people were getting their food from there. Let's do the math on that. There's 200, so 330,000. Well, that would be what, 5%? No. That's 15% of their population is on food stamps, plus whatever else they're getting. That's a fairly high percentage. Wouldn't you say? They got 2 million people there, 300 something thousand of them. Roughly, yeah, that's roughly 13 to 15%. Wonder what it is in America. Hey, could you fuckers at least like the stream before you leave, huh? There have been look at this. How many people have come through here so far? Oh, only 24. Oh, there's only 24, but still, like it. Like it before you leave. Just like it before you leave. Otherwise, you are a fucking asshole. How about that? I'm not gonna kiss your asses for fucking likes. I'm not gonna kiss your asses for anything, because most of you actually are fucking assholes that are only here to watch me fail.
That, you know, in terms of observations and takeaways,
I see you.
Situation,
Fuck
as you have heard from others, increasingly desperate.
The real ones know who
chaotic.
you are, but they know they're there
To
too.
the food security situation, we managed to do during the 7-day pause a survey.
Proofs and the likes.
And what we found there was that half of the population are starving. The grim reality is also that 9 out of 10 people are not eating enough, are not eating every day, and don't know where the next meal is going to come from. We are working with other partners to come forward with an IPC food security report, and we're hoping to have that with you sometime early or mid next week. And this report is based on these surveys that we have been able to do in the past couple of weeks, and they also do a forward-looking assessment should the current situation prevail. Also, what you find is that there is fear in there. Really, you see it in people's eyes, and you hear it when you speak to them. A lot of questions, a lot of confusion. What's going to happen next? And of course, a lot of people. I was in Rafah, in the most southern tip, where people have first been displaced from the north into Khan Yunis and are now being pushed further south into Rafah. So you see people on the street wandering, cars driving around with their possessions on the roof, donkey carts with families and their possessions, and with nowhere to go. The shelters are already overcrowded, and so people are simply camping first and foremost around these shelters. As you approach them, you see a lot of tents and shacks that has been put out, or frankly we were seeing people also trying to put out those shacks, but so an increasing overcrowding. There is also increasing desperation, of course, and anger. I visited these distribution sites, and while they were functioning in a relatively orderly way, quite impressive to see how most people have their ID cards still with them, and hence it can be done in a quite orderly way with registration. But of course, people being frustrated, angry, and desperate, and not knowing exactly when the next load of help will come, and hence, of course, trying to grab as much as they can, and that is becoming.
You got to get an ID card to get some bread.
That there is a breakdown in law and order.
You got to prove you're a Gaza citizen.
And people really losing faith that they will get further aid, and so like
make sure they're not getting too many loaves. Maybe
operation is really on the brink of collapse. And it's just not possible to deliver in an orderly fashion under these conditions. What we really need is to step up the volumes, and for that we need more crossings. Kerem Shalom not least, but I would say beyond that. We would also like to see, of course, commercial trucks going in, and so that we can, as soon as possible, resume the cash and voucher system, because that's a program that also has broader implications or impact on the economy. But so one is to get volume and scale up, and the second, of course, is to be able to deliver throughout the Strip. And for that to happen, we need and call for a humanitarian ceasefire. I think the only good news I will have for you today is that during that 7-day pause, we were able to deliver. WFP has delivered already to some 1 million people. Most of that we did in the first 2 weeks when we pushed out assistance both through cash and in-kind to beneficiaries. But also during that 7-day pause.
Yo, did you just hear that?
Hi, I'm Steve Clements, and I have a question. Joe Biden warns Israel that it's losing support.
Dude. With cash? Hold up. The first 2 weeks of the fucking war, they were sending cash to Gaza citizens? Let's roll that dumb shit back for a second.
He has delivered already to some 1 million people. Most of
1 million people got that cash in vouchers in the first 2 weeks. How many of those people were Hamas? That they had no idea that they're giving money to like active soldiers to help them eat and shit. They can't keep their family in a place of residence in southern Gaza or whatever.
To deliver. WFP has delivered already to some 1 million people. Most of that we did in the first 2 weeks when we pushed out assistance both through cash and in-kind to beneficiaries. But
half of the population of Gaza got cash or some other form of subsidy to help them. Like, that's why everybody was walking around looking like they weren't even that worried about anything, dude. They got paid extra, actually, it sounds like, in the beginning of this, or at least what they were already getting. It's not like Gaza, like we're all thinking Gaza is being shut down by Israel, but the UN comes in and sent them funds electronically. And that just is like a little blurb, but like I would have never thought that the world was giving Gazans money to eat and survive up to 2 weeks after the war had started. That's interesting. Like, it's one thing, because they were like, oh, they don't have anything. They're running out of everything. Yeah, the supply, sure. They could be running out of stuff that's perishable. Sure, perishable items are going to start going off. They don't get those in. But you can survive off non-perishable items, dude. I mean, what do you think the Jews did? Why do you think they eat matzah bread? See, they don't eat matzah bread because Jesus said, this is my skin, have some food, let's have some final meal or whatever, here's my blood, boom, we're getting drunk tonight. No, it wasn't about that with them. With them, it's about what they were able to survive off of in the hard times. There was a time when that's all they ate was matzah crackers. That was their food source. So these people can survive off that same shit. There's protein in this stuff, dude. Look, one cracker has 9 grams of protein in it. Would you have thought that a cracker had to have much protein in it? I mean, yeah, they're massive crackers, one big old round thing, but that's a total of 61 grams of carbs in one cracker, 20% you need in a day. But if you're a smaller person, this is like American numbers. It wants to be fat. Got a little sodium, 5 milligrams of sodium. It doesn't even have salt in it. It's wheat, flour, and water only, but there's a little bit of sodium in there, so you get a little bit of electrolyte. A little fat, 1.5 grams of fat, and 260 calories per cracker. So, yeah, as long as those people had water, which it seems like they never ran out of water, all they need is water and flour, and boom, they got food. I'm sure they had plenty of flour in Gaza, dude. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, man. It's interesting, the stuff that they cherry-pick to tell us in the news, depending on who's telling it. Like, this probably won't even ever get mentioned by anybody, that they were getting going on. It's nice partying. I don't know, maybe they'll say it, but I doubt it, because the news nowadays doesn't want people to know about that kind of thing. They want them to think that they're as destitute and desperate as possible so that they get more.
Also, during that 7-day pause, we managed to reach some 250,000 people, and we did that with more than wheat, which is otherwise now the primary commodity, but also with
wheat. We see all they need is wheat and water.
Tuna, oil, and beans
Tuna?
and other commodities to kind of
Really?
broaden the nutrition base.
So within the first week, they were somehow getting actual physical items into Gaza, humanitarian aid, to help 200,000 people, which is a pretty decent amount of people, dude. That's 10% of their population. And how much, like, were they giving them American-sized meals, or were they, like, how much were they giving them? European-sized meals, or were they giving them Gaza-sized meals? Because I doubt these people eat that much or need that much food. They're not that big. Some of them are kind of overweight, but they're not known for being tall in stature. Most Americans would probably be taller than these people, right? Just because of the lack of nutrition. Like, they don't have what we have. All the right vitamins and shit. Growing up, prenatal vitamins and all that. Like, they might have it, but it's like, it's just not the same there. It is here. People aren't as big. They made it out to be like everybody was starving out there, dude.
Again, the good news is that we were showing during the 7 days pause that we are able to deliver.
Oh, so that was during the 7 days pause.
We also had trucks and convoys going to the north, but that has not been possible since the fighting resumed. I should say also that.
But the 2 weeks thing wasn't. The 2 weeks cash thing was. He said that was during the first 2 weeks. They were even cash and other things electronically into them. So.
Relatively new to this field, or I've been only working in this field some 25 years. Those with us who have been working 40, 50 years in this field say that they've never seen anything like it. It is indeed unprecedented in its scale, in its complexity, not least, but also at the pace of how events are developing. So we are trying to catch up, but we are again ready to deliver. We have done procurements in the region, so we are ready to deliver to another 1 million people within a couple of weeks, should the conditions allow. And let me reiterate that caveat, that should those conditions allow, which would be opening of more crossings and a humanitarian ceasefire to be able to reach people across the Strip. Let me just conclude again by drawing attention to the important and heroic work, frankly, that our staff on the ground are doing on a daily basis, despite these, despite the critical situation. Again, they are living the crisis, and their families are living this crisis while trying to address it. So one of our top priorities is indeed to see how we can better cater to the safety and security of our staff. I think I'll leave it there, and I look forward to questions. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much. We'll open the floor for questions. Please introduce yourselves to our speakers. The first question goes to Edith Lederer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scow, and welcome back. On behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association, thank you for doing this briefing. As Farhan said, my name is Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. My question is, the Israeli government has said that there are no obstacles to humanitarian aid deliveries, and they have blamed UN logistics for not being able to deliver to people in need. How does the World Food Program respond to those accusations?
Thank you, Edith. I think, no doubt, given what I just said in terms of the unprecedented nature of this crisis, that we have challenges and that we have had to play a bit of catch-up. And so in the first few weeks of this crisis, there was, ad hoc solutions found, and we have been, running after the ball in trying to address the situation as it evolves. I think now we are in a different space where we are beginning to get a different architecture, structure, and strategy in place to be able to respond in a more coordinated and comprehensive way. But again, it's not upon us. That is one piece of this puzzle, but if there is not more access into the Strip where we can get different volumes of supplies in, and if there is not the conditions, security conditions in the Strip to be able to deliver to people throughout, this is not the issue. But I think it's fair to say that, yes, this is complex, this is unprecedented, and hence we didn't have the system in place already before, and I think that's natural. But we are certainly getting there. And WFP is, as you know, leading on logistics. We have set up pipelines both through Egypt and from Jordan, and we have procured stocks again up until being able to reach another 1 million people within a couple of weeks, should it be allowed. And we are extending that logistics muscle and capacity to the entire system. So WHO and others are also using our capacity when it comes to both pipeline and distribution.
And a follow-up question: with half the people in Gaza starving, are you already seeing deaths from starvation? And is this expected?
No, I bet not.
I would wait for the report that is thoroughly under review and is based on information that is not only for WFP but from a wide range of partners. And so,
dude, we would have heard about it already.
To be able to answer that question,
kids are starving
in
to
the
death.
next few days as this report is being
They
released.
don't look like Somalia back in the day, do they? All bubble belly and shit. That's when they are starving.
Thank you. My name is Ibtisam Azim, Al Arabi Al Jadid newspaper. I have first a quick follow-up on what you said regarding that you didn't have the system in place. Could you clarify that? Because Gaza before October 7th was, a lot of people were in need and the UN did deliver. So what do you mean exactly you didn't have the system in place? And then my question is about the budget, how much money you need, do you have enough? And also whether you could say whether you believe that hunger is being used as a weapon in Gaza. Thank you.
Bro, none of them look hungry.
No, UNRWA was assisting some 1 million refugees in the Strip. Some of us were engaged in addressing vulnerable populations who are not registered as refugees. As I said, WFP, I think.
If these people are really starving, they would be going up. You would see the adults going up to the camera crews and shit that are there. The Reuters and all that would be getting constantly fucked with because they're eating good. It's nowhere near that level. They would be fighting those people over some of their food. Probably. If they were hungry like that.
In the month before the crisis, we're reaching some 350,000 people of that category, but with cash and voucher assistance. But of course, we now have a very different situation. 2 million people have been displaced, and so this category of refugees and others doesn't really make much sense from an operational point of view at the moment, nor can we continue to do the delivery through vouchers and cash, as I explained, because the shops are empty. There is no commercial goods coming in, and of course, the distribution points that UNRWA were using are now overcrowded and needs to respond in a completely different scale. Also, our staff has been displaced and are not able to work in the same way that they were in the past. So I think, yes, indeed, we had a serious operation already before, but what we are now facing is something completely different. And then I think it's only natural that it takes a few weeks to have the right people and the right structures and the right strategies in place to address what is a very new situation, and one that is evolving also, if not by the hour, by the day, for sure, and with a lot of uncertainties what will come next. Wow. I think on the money, I mean, there has been quite generous response from not least some of our traditional donors, US, Germany, and others, but it's also coming with some strings. So what we advocate for is really flexible funding, and we are hoping that also countries in the region will step up and contribute with additional funding. But let me here make an appeal also for funding elsewhere. I mean, we have called for additional funding, given how we are in a crunch in other operations in the region, in Syria, in Yemen, with the Syrian refugees in Lebanon and Jordan, but also beyond,
they can wait.
Not least in Afghanistan and Sudan and the DRC and the Sahel, where we're seeing serious shortfalls. So, while of course it's important that donors step forward now to our Gaza response, what we want to avoid is that is taken from other crises that are also in dire need of.
They wonder why they don't have enough food in Africa, because they're having too many fucking kids to feed it to.
In Gaza, what I would ask for there is flexibility. And hopefully that also countries in the region could step forward in a more substantial way for funding from others, maybe to be able to be used elsewhere, as this situation is dire also elsewhere. On 24. 17.
They're making it dire for themselves out there.
In 17 and launching that initiative for that resolution. That assessment is done in a very rigorous way, together with FAO and other partners, and it is an assessment that is ongoing. It has not reached any conclusions as of yet, so I will wait to comment on that. But indeed, it is something that is being considered, looked upon, and assessed. And information is gathered through the normal process that we have been using since the resolution was adopted in 2018.
Just quick, when do you expect the assessment to come out?
I couldn't tell you, but again, this is done through the rigorous process that has been used in the past when these reports have been issued.
Margaret Bashir?
You don't want this food.
Hey, Carl, welcome back.
Thank you.
Could you expand on what strings these donors are attaching to the aid? And to be clear, the last time WFP was able to reach people in the north was during the pause that ended 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
So no aid has gone from WFP since December 1st, presumably?
Nope.
No, okay. And are any bakeries back online now that there's some fuel and flour coming in?
We have one. We had 24 before the war.
He's a Gaza sympathizer
now, so the majority of bread being baked is being baked on open fires in the shelters.
Hey, what's wrong with that? Old school.
How I would say mainly women are pulling together to, get what is an essential food for any Lebanese, but also an important asset in terms of the psychological impact it has on families and communities. But yes, we are back with one, and we certainly would need many more to be able to deliver in a meaningful way. We have looked at the possibility, I should say, of bringing bread in. But given the times it takes from that, if that bread is baked, in Cairo to get to our distribution sites in Gaza, it's not a feasible option, and so we're looking at mobile bakeries or any other way of getting back to have more functioning bakeries inside.
Have reefer units out there?
Sorry, what was your first question?
You mentioned that donors are putting strings on the aid.
Well, I mean, that was the case already before for some donors, but I mean, I think there are some serious vetting criteria, both in terms of our procurements, but also in our delivery. And so, we have organizations inside who are vetted previously by some of these donors, but we are now operating in a very chaotic, warlike environment.
They don't want to give to Hamas.
And the controls that we can provide aren't, they are what they are given the conditions, and we're very open with that. And so we those conditions are then putting some constraints on us to.
What are the conditions, asshole?
Agile way,
Answer
we would
the
need
question.
to do given the environment that we're operating.
She asked,
in.
"What are the stipulations?"
Again, we would advocate for more flexibility and for donors to have understanding of those risks given the conditions they operate in, and if not, that other donors in the region step forward.
He doesn't want to throw the donors under the bus.
Could I just ask one more, Farhan? You said that you're ready to deliver to another 1 million people if you get more crossings and the humanitarian ceasefire. But without these conditions, what's a feasible number of people that you can reach?
I wouldn't be able to tell you because it depends day to day. I mean, I don't know how it looked yesterday, but the day before we didn't have any trucks in. And so, there is a serious bottleneck at Rafah, and it's very sporadic what comes in. And so our teams are sitting on the other side of the border, basically waiting and picking up what comes through. And so it's not done in a sustainable way. So it's difficult to say. But we are limited now to operate basically in Rafah. And, while people are fleeing first and foremost for the military operation taking place in Khan Yunis, I'm sure this is also a potential pull factor given that, right now we're not able to reach people where they are in the middle or in the north of the Strip.
From Kasaifi.
Thank you so much. A part of your role at the WFP is that you lead the humanitarian diplomacy also at WFP. My question, in light of everything you said, and I'm sorry if you answered my colleague, but I didn't really quite catch the answer. Did you see any signs that hunger is being used as a weapon of war? We've seen UN independent experts calling against that and warning against that from the very beginning, and water too, not just food. Do you see any signs that there is deliberateness behind this dramatic situation that you just described? And in a more general way, also, do you think this whole humanitarian operation is being politicized by any party? Thank you.
On the issue of 2417, again, that is under assessment through the standard process that is reviewing these issues, and I expect there to be a conclusion on that. I think there is no doubt, and the Secretary General has spoken about at repeated occasions that there are breaches and violations of IHL, and when it comes to us, also not least strikes against civilian infrastructure and bakeries has been a big issue. But I wouldn't want to go beyond that as of now, but rather to have the facts when they are established through this recognized and and thorough process. I mean, on humanitarian diplomacy, it's not really the primary role of WFP. That is OCHA, and there are others also have stronger protection mandates, if you will. Our objective, first and foremost, is to deliver to as many people as possible in the best possible way. And I think what we bring to the system is really that operational creativity and that logistical muscle that we also provide for others. But of course, when it comes to food security, we are the voice globally, and we have spoken to that situation already. We were able to do so more with more reliable information following the pause, and we expect, as I mentioned, to issue this report with others by midweek next week.
Could I perhaps possibly ask you to describe a little bit what it has been like for you in your new role to navigate this humanitarian world in Gaza and this whole operation? What has it been like? What are some of the difficulties,
let us know
the hurdles?
how horrible it is in there. The people.
I mean, I think it's quite obvious that it's an increasingly complex environment that we are operating in, whether that's locally, like in Sudan, or if it's regionally, and as in other crises, or now with more global implications. And so the complexities and the politics involved is just increasing by the day, and they're at every level, as I said, and even to the local that also taps into to the regional and the international. And so I think, I mean, more personally, I think it's been useful to have a diplomacy background, to be honest with you, in trying to navigate the politics, which are increasingly complex. But I think beyond that, also, we are in a funding crunch, and I must, I would be remiss not to highlight and raise that again. I mean, we have completely different levels of needs now than we did only 3-4 years ago. There are 200 million more people hungry than there were 3 years ago, up to 300.
So
I think 33 million was our latest number that we released.
Why are they
It's
having so many
leveled out a little
fucking
bit, but
kids?
that's also because of the massive efforts, not least in 22-23, where donor came forward with record resources. Looking now into 24, it's a very, very different picture. And so, like the Executive Director McCain has said, we're living a post-COVID, post-Ukraine, and now mid-Gaza world, but with a pre-COVID envelope. And how to navigate that is increasingly difficult. It means that we are cutting seriously across the board, frankly, more dramatically in places like Afghanistan, where last year we really helped avert a famine through the winter, assisting some 15 million people. This
I'm about to quit YouTube because it only has 5 likes. I actually lost a like, and there's 12 people here. I'm about to end it at an hour, which is in 30 seconds.
Insecure, and so that means that there are 4 million people that we're not reaching who are on the brink of starvation, and what the impact of that will be, not least on children, is quite.
It was up to you, YouTube.
It's quite clear.
10 likes in an hour ain't too much to ask for, was it?
In Yemen, in Syria, to Syrian refugees in Jordan, Lebanon, and we are not able to reach. While I should say access in Sudan is the main issue, we are also not even able to reach or to assist those that we can reach. So it is really an alarming and historic gap between available